The story of Christopher Columbus' discovery of America in 1492 is one of the most widely taught and celebrated in world history. Yet, the mainstream narrative of a lone Italian explorer braving uncharted waters and inadvertently stumbling upon a continent already inhabited by indigenous peoples has long been questioned by historians, researchers, and conspiracy theorists alike. One of the most intriguing and, at times, controversial claims centers around a voyage that many believe took place long before Columbus ever set sail. A voyage that may have been carried out by the mysterious and powerful Knights Templar. What if the Templars, a medieval order of knights renowned for their military prowess, secretive rituals, and vast financial networks, had reached the Americas centuries before Columbus? Could the Templars have been the true discoverers of the New World, a claim suppressed for reasons yet to be fully understood? This tantalizing question has been the subject of speculation, investigation, and even myth-making for centuries, with proponents of the theory pointing to various pieces of evidence, some historical and some circumstantial, that suggest the Templars had the means, motive, and opportunity to explore lands across the Atlantic. It's not just that the Templars were known to have mastered navigation and sailed across Europe's seas. They were experts at far more than military conquests. Their ability to finance expeditions, forge connections with distant lands, and build expansive networks of influence made them uniquely positioned to undertake such an ambitious voyage. But if they did indeed travel to the Americas, why has history kept this fact largely buried? Why is it that, instead of being heralded as the true pioneers of the New World, the Templars' journey remains a mystery? In this documentary, we aim to explore the evidence surrounding the Templar voyage to America, piecing together clues from maps, legends, artifacts, and obscure historical records, as well as examining the theories that suggest the Templars' influence extends far beyond what we've been taught. At the heart of this investigation lies the notion that the Templars may have set sail to the Americas for reasons that went beyond mere exploration. The Knights Templar were not your average medieval order. They were enigmatic, shrouded in secrecy, and in possession of esoteric knowledge that, even today, fascinates and perplexes scholars. Their connection to the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, and other religious relics has long been a subject of intrigue, and some theories even suggest that their mission to the New World was tied to these ancient artifacts. Did the Templars venture to the Americas in search of something far greater than gold or land? Perhaps in search of the lost secrets of mankind's ancient past? Could they have discovered something in the Americas that the world was not yet ready to understand? This question is not as far-fetched as it may initially seem. In fact, the historical record contains multiple instances of unexplained voyages and encounters between Europeans and the Americas long before Columbus. The famous Piri Reis map, which dates back to the early 16th century, depicts a remarkably accurate coastline of South America and even Antarctica, leading some to speculate that the Templars or other early explorers had access to ancient, advanced cartographic knowledge. Similarly, the Kensington runestone, a mysterious artifact found in Minnesota in 1898, appears to be a Viking-era relic that some researchers believe may have been left behind by Templar explorers centuries before Columbus reached the Americas. As we begin our journey into this forgotten chapter of history, we must ask ourselves, what if the true story of the Americas' discovery is far more complex and far older than we've been told? What if Columbus was not the first European to set foot on the continent, but merely the last in a long line of explorers who knew far more about the world than we've been led to believe? In this documentary, we will unravel the tale of the Templar voyage to the New World, examining the clues that point to an extraordinary chapter of history that was erased from the official narrative, exploring the vast possibilities of what the Templars may have discovered, and questioning why this knowledge has been kept hidden for so long. Throughout this investigation, we will delve deep into the archives of history, piecing together the puzzle of the Templars' activities in the 12th and 13th centuries. From their rise to power during the Crusades to their sudden and mysterious downfall, we will explore the many aspects of the Templar Order, including their maritime expertise, their secretive nature, and their vast network of connections that span Europe, the Middle East, and beyond. We will also take a closer look at the various pieces of evidence that suggest the Templars may have crossed the Atlantic Ocean, reaching the shores of the Americas long before Columbus. One of the most compelling aspects of this theory is the Templars' connection to esoteric knowledge. The order was not just a military organization. It was also a spiritual and philosophical brotherhood, one that sought hidden truths about the world, religion, and mankind's place in the cosmos. The Templars were said to possess ancient, mysterious knowledge, passed down from the early days of Christianity or even from lost civilizations that predated the rise of Western culture. This connection to hidden knowledge is central to the Templar voyage theory, as it suggests that the Templars' motivation for traveling to the Americas was not simply to claim new lands, but to uncover or protect something of great significance, perhaps even a secret that could alter the course of human history. But if the Templars did journey to the Americas, why has this chapter of history remained obscured for so long? The answer lies, in part, in the dramatic fall of the Templar order in the early 14th century. In 1307, under the orders of King Philip IV of France, the Templars were arrested, tortured, and ultimately disbanded by the Catholic Church. Many of the Templars' leaders were executed, and their vast wealth and influence were confiscated. In the aftermath of their downfall, much of the Templars' knowledge and legacy were deliberately erased from history. Documents were destroyed, their castles and fortresses were dismantled, and their secrets were locked away. Some historians believe that, in the wake of the Templars' destruction, the story of their voyages to the New World was deliberately suppressed to protect the powerful forces that feared the Templars' knowledge and influence. As we will explore in later sections, there are hints that the Templars may have left behind a breadcrumb trail of evidence pointing to their journey to the Americas. Whether through ancient maps, cryptic symbols, or strange artifacts, these clues suggest that the Templars may have indeed discovered the New World long before Columbus, and that the true story of America's discovery is far more mysterious and complex than we've been told. But why did these Templar voyages remain a secret for so long? Was it because the Templars found something in the New World that they wanted to keep hidden? Or was the knowledge of their voyage deliberately erased by powerful forces in Europe who sought to control the narrative of history? In the coming sections, we will investigate these questions, presenting the evidence that has surfaced over the centuries and delving deeper into the mystery of the Templars' forgotten voyage to America. By the end of this documentary, we hope to have answered some of these questions and shed light on one of the greatest mysteries in history. Was the Templar voyage to America truly a reality, or just another piece of speculative fiction? And if it was real, what did the Templars find on their journey? Something that the world was not yet ready to understand? Join us as we uncover the clues, unravel the mysteries, and explore the legacy of the forgotten Templar voyage to the Americas. The history of the Knights Templar is one of grandeur, secrecy, and intrigue. Emerging from the chaos of the First Crusade in the early 12th century, this warrior monastic order grew to become one of the most powerful and influential organizations in medieval Europe. But beneath the surface of their military prowess and extensive land holdings lay an even greater mystery: their mastery of esoteric knowledge, their involvement in trade and finance, and their potential role as the harbingers of a secret that could transcend the boundaries of their time. To understand the Templars' possible voyage to the Americas, we must first examine how they rose to prominence, both as formidable soldiers and as enigmatic figures whose true influence extended far beyond the battlefield. The origins of the Templars are shrouded in mystery. The order was founded in 1119, during the aftermath of the First Crusade, which had resulted in the capture of Jerusalem by European Christian forces. A group of knights, led by Hugues de Payens, established the Order of the Poor Knights of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon. Their mission was ostensibly to protect Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land, particularly to the sacred city of Jerusalem, where they were to safeguard pilgrims from Muslim forces. The order's name came from the Temple of Solomon, a biblical site believed to house great treasure and ancient relics. From the very beginning, The Templars' connection to religious mysticism and ancient history was clear. But the Templars did not remain mere protectors of pilgrims for long. Almost immediately, the order began to attract wealth and resources, largely due to their skill in managing donations, receiving gifts, and establishing a network of wealthy patrons across Europe. The Templars' ability to amass wealth and power quickly became a hallmark of their rise. They were soon trusted with large sums of money and land, and it is believed that they even helped fund many of the Crusades themselves. Their widespread influence in Europe made them a formidable force, and their network of commanderies, or estates, stretched across the continent, from the Holy Land to France, Spain, England, and even parts of Scotland. In the early years, the Templars' wealth came from donations, but they quickly branched out into finance, creating an early form of banking that would serve as a model for modern financial systems. Pilgrims and nobles alike would deposit money with the Templars before embarking on dangerous journeys, and the Templars would provide them with a letter of credit that could be redeemed at one of their far-flung properties. This system of banking not only made the Templars immensely wealthy, but also gave them an unprecedented degree of power. By the early 13th century, they had accumulated vast land holdings, and they controlled a significant portion of the European economy. With their wealth, the Templars also built formidable fortresses, castles, and strongholds in strategic locations, many of which still stand today as testaments to their military might and architectural ingenuity. Yet, it was not just their financial expertise and military prowess that set the Templars apart. It was their enigmatic nature. The order was shrouded in secrecy, with a complex hierarchy, rituals, and codes of conduct that were only known to initiated members. The Templars' devotion to secrecy fueled rumors and legends about their true purpose. Some believed that they were the guardians of the Holy Grail or other sacred relics, ancient knowledge hidden from the public eye. Others speculated that the Templars were privy to arcane knowledge passed down through secretive traditions, possibly even from ancient civilizations long lost to history. One of the most compelling aspects of the Templars' rise to power was their connection to maritime exploration. By the 12th and 13th centuries, the Templars had established strong naval capabilities. They were expert shipbuilders, sailors, and navigators, with fleets that could rival those of the greatest maritime powers of the day. Their strongholds along the Mediterranean and their extensive network of trade routes meant that they were well-positioned to explore far beyond the borders of Europe. While much of their naval activity is associated with the Crusades and military campaigns in the Holy Land, it is likely that the Templars also engaged in more covert missions. With their extensive financial resources, their ability to construct ships, and their complex web of connections across Europe and the Middle East, the Templars were uniquely equipped to undertake long voyages. Their influence in trade meant that they could easily access maps, navigational tools, and knowledge of far-off lands. The idea that they could have ventured across the Atlantic Ocean to the Americas is not as improbable as it might seem. The Templars were also keenly aware of the importance of symbols and mysticism. Their rituals were infused with symbolic meaning, often drawing on Christian, Jewish, and even pre-Christian traditions. The order's most iconic symbol, the Red Cross, was not only a symbol of their military mission, but also had deeper, hidden meanings tied to their esoteric beliefs. Some researchers have posited that the Templars' interest in mystical symbols, sacred geometry, and ancient knowledge could have led them to explore the world in search of ancient wisdom that could have been preserved in distant lands like the Americas. As the Templars continued to expand their wealth and influence, they also expanded their role as protectors of sacred knowledge. The mysteries surrounding the order grew as rumors circulated about their secret initiation rituals, their relationship with the Church, and their knowledge of the ancient world. It is during this time that some of the most intriguing theories about the Templars' connection to the Americas began to emerge. The notion that the Templars were involved in secretive expeditions to the New World stems not only from their maritime expertise, but also from the belief that they were in possession of hidden knowledge that could have included awareness of distant lands across the ocean. But despite their wealth, power, and influence, the Templars' very success ultimately led to their downfall. In 1307, the order was brought to an abrupt end, primarily due to the political machinations of King Philip IV of France. Desiring the Templars' immense wealth and motivated by personal animosity toward their power, King Philip ordered the arrest of all Templars in France, accusing them of heresy, blasphemy, and other charges. In the years that followed, the Templars were systematically disbanded across Europe, their leaders executed, and their assets seized by the crown. The suppression of the Templars is one of the most significant events in medieval history. The order's sudden and violent collapse left a power vacuum, and much of their knowledge and influence was lost, or at least hidden from public view. However, the surviving Templars didn't disappear entirely. Many of them sought refuge in secret societies, such as the Freemasons, where their knowledge and symbols were preserved in a hidden form. Some researchers suggest that the Templars' secret mission to the Americas may have been carried forward by these secret societies, whose members continued the Templar tradition of exploration and mysticism. The Templars' connection to the Americas remains an unresolved mystery, but understanding their rise to power is crucial to comprehending why they may have undertaken such extraordinary voyages. Their wealth, their military and naval expertise, and their connection to sacred knowledge made them uniquely positioned to explore the world beyond Europe. It is not hard to imagine that, armed with ancient maps, advanced navigational techniques, and a desire for discovery, the Templars could have crossed the Atlantic long before Columbus. In the next section, we will explore the evidence that suggests the Templars may have indeed made it to the Americas, examining ancient maps, artifacts, and other mysterious clues that could point to their early voyages across the ocean. The story of the Templars is far from over, is only just beginning to unfold. The Knights Templar were never an ordinary military order. While their public role in the Crusades and their association with the Holy Land have been the focal points of historical records, much of their influence and operations remain secret. Beneath the surface of their religious, military, and financial activities lay a deeper, more enigmatic purpose. The Templars were masters of secrecy, and their expeditions were as shrouded in mystery as their very existence. This secretive nature, combined with their extensive network and remarkable resources, makes it entirely plausible that the Templars could have embarked on far-reaching voyages, possibly even across the Atlantic to the Americas, without leaving any obvious traces in the historical record. To understand the secretive nature of Templar expeditions, one must first consider the very foundation of the order. The Templars were not just a group of religious knights. They were a fraternal society with deep initiatory rituals and an internal hierarchy that concealed much of their true purpose. Only the highest-ranking members of the order were privy to its most sacred and arcane knowledge. This secretive structure, combined with the Templars' devotion to their cause, allowed them to operate with remarkable discretion, whether in their military engagements or in their dealings with other powers. The secrecy surrounding the order was not merely a matter of protocol. It was essential to the preservation of their power, wealth, and knowledge. Throughout their existence, the Templars operated in a shadowy realm of politics and diplomacy, with alliances and arrangements that were often unknown to the broader public. Their network spanned much of Europe and the Near East, and their wealth was unparalleled. They controlled vast estates from Scotland to Jerusalem, and were involved in nearly every aspect of medieval life, from banking to trade to military defense. Yet, much of this influence was hidden from the common folk. Templar actions were carefully cloaked in ambiguity, and their true motives were often obscured by layers of secrecy. The Templars' secretive nature extended to their expeditions, many of which remain a topic of speculation today. When one considers their reach and capabilities, it becomes clear that the order possessed the means to embark on journeys far beyond the scope of conventional European exploration. The Templars' wealth and their role in the Crusades gave them access to the finest resources available in medieval Europe, including ships, maps, and navigational expertise. Their ability to finance large-scale expeditions, whether for religious, military, or trade purposes, was unparalleled. However, the fact that much of their activity was carried out in secret raises the question: did the Templars undertake voyages that were hidden from public view, particularly those that may have crossed the Atlantic? While we know that the Templars were involved in numerous military campaigns in the Mediterranean and the Holy Land, much of their maritime activity is less well documented. This has led to theories that the Templars' naval expeditions were often conducted away from the prying eyes of both the Church and secular authorities. They had established a reputation for stealth and cunning, and their naval operations were no exception. Given the immense resources at their disposal and their control over important ports in the Mediterranean, it is not difficult to imagine that the Templars could have launched covert expeditions to distant lands, including the Americas, in search of ancient knowledge, relics, or treasures. One of the most compelling aspects of this theory is the Templars' relationship with knowledge, particularly secret or esoteric knowledge. It is well known that the Templars were deeply connected to various religious traditions, including Christianity, Judaism, and even older, pre-Christian belief systems. They were often associated with the guardianship of sacred relics, such as the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, and other objects believed to hold ancient power. The Templars' fascination with these relics and their symbolic significance could have prompted them to seek out new locations that might hold clues to their true origins or provide new insights into their mysteries. The Templars' obsession with secrecy also extended to their use of hidden symbols, codes, and messages. Their cryptic language was designed not only to protect their knowledge, but also to communicate with fellow members of the order, whether they were in Europe or the distant corners of the world. The use of coded messages and symbols was a means of ensuring that only those initiated into the order could understand their purpose and actions. This created a veil of invisibility around their true intentions, especially when it came to their expeditions. When one looks at the geographical scope of Templar influence, it becomes clear that they had the potential to reach far-flung corners of the world. In addition to their strongholds in the Holy Land, the Templars maintained a network of commanderies and properties across Europe, with a particularly strong presence in France, England, Portugal, Spain, and Scotland. Their ships were seen sailing from these ports, but few records exist detailing the specifics of their voyages. What we do know is that the Templars had access to a vast network of navigational tools and maps, many of which were based on the knowledge passed down through ancient cultures such as the Egyptians and the Phoenicians. The Templars' possession of such knowledge made them well-equipped to embark on long-distance voyages, if they chose to do so. There is, in fact, considerable evidence suggesting that the Templars had a far greater knowledge of the world than they let on. For instance, some researchers believe that the Templars had access to maps that were far more advanced than those of their contemporaries. The most famous of these maps is the Piri-Reis map, created in 1513 by an Ottoman admiral. This map depicts the coastline of South America with startling accuracy, even showing parts of Antarctica, an area that had not yet been discovered by European explorers. Some believe that the Templars may have possessed similar maps that were passed down through their network of contacts in the Mediterranean and beyond. The existence of such maps suggests that the Templars could have known about the Americas long before Columbus, and it raises the possibility that they were in possession of detailed knowledge about the land across the Atlantic. The secretive nature of the Templars' operations meant that many of their voyages would have been deliberately obscured from the historical record. The order's downfall in the early 14th century, culminating in the arrest and execution of many of its leaders, furthered the notion that the Templars sought to keep their secrets hidden. King Philip IV of France, who played a central role in the suppression of the order, was deeply motivated by the desire to seize the Templars' wealth and destroy their influence. As a result, many of the Templars' records, documents, and knowledge were likely destroyed or concealed to prevent future generations from uncovering the full scope of their activities. However, some Templar knowledge appears to have survived, either in the form of cryptic symbols, hidden messages, or through the legacy of secret societies such as the Freemasons, who have long been associated with the Templars. These societies preserved many of the Templars' esoteric teachings and may have carried on the legacy of secret voyages and discoveries, voyages that were not recorded in public history, but may have been passed down through initiation rites and hidden manuscripts. Despite the Templars' efforts to remain secretive, clues to their covert expeditions have emerged over the centuries. One of the most striking examples is the Newport Tower in Rhode Island, which some researchers believe may be a Templar structure. The tower's unique design, featuring a circular base and unusual stonework, bears a resemblance to Templar architecture found in Europe. Theory suggests that the Templars could have built this structure as a navigational or religious monument, possibly marking a point of arrival for their expeditions to the Americas. Other artifacts, such as the Kensington runestone in Minnesota, have been cited as evidence of Templar presence in the New World. Although these claims remain controversial, they serve as tantalizing pieces of the puzzle that suggest the Templars were active in North America long before Columbus. As we explore these mysteries further, it becomes evident that the Templars' secretive nature and their remarkable abilities to navigate and explore the world provide a compelling case for their potential voyages to the Americas. The Templars were not simply a military order. They were a highly organized, wealthy, and enigmatic society, with the resources and knowledge necessary to undertake long-distance journeys. Their ability to keep their actions hidden, coupled with their vast network of contacts, meant that they could have carried out expeditions across the Atlantic without leaving obvious traces. In the next sections, we will delve deeper into the evidence that points to such secret voyages, examining maps, artifacts, and other clues that suggest the Templars were far more connected to the New World than history has allowed us to believe. The notion that the Templars may have reached the Americas long before Columbus is a tantalizing mystery, but for many years, the idea seemed to exist only in the realm of speculation and theory. However, one of the most intriguing and compelling pieces of evidence that has surfaced over the years lies in the study of ancient maps. Among these maps, one in particular has captivated the imaginations of historians, cartographers, and conspiracy theorists alike: the Piri Reis map. The Piri Reis map, created in 1513 by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis, depicts the coastlines of South America, parts of the Caribbean, and even Antarctica. What makes this map so remarkable and controversial is the astonishing accuracy with which it represents the Americas, especially considering that it predates the official discovery of many of these areas by European explorers. The map has been studied extensively, and some scholars have suggested that it was based on much older source material, sources that may have come from lost civilizations or even from the Templars themselves. The Piri Reis map shows the coast of South America with incredible precision, including a coastline that matches the outline of the continent as it appears today. However, the most perplexing feature of the map is the depiction of Antarctica, a landmass that was not officially discovered by Europeans until the 19th century. The Piri Reis map clearly shows a portion of Antarctica, but the land is represented as being free of ice, an anomaly that has led some researchers to suggest that the map was based on ancient knowledge of the continent, perhaps passed down from civilizations long lost to history. The idea that such a map could have existed in the early 16th century raises questions about the true origins of the map and whether the Templars were somehow involved in its creation. There are several theories that attempt to explain the existence of such advanced maps long before their time. Some suggest that the maps were based on ancient knowledge from the Egyptians, Phoenicians, or even the lost civilization of Atlantis. However, another theory suggests that the Templars, who were known for their vast network of contacts and their extensive knowledge of the Mediterranean, could have been the creators or custodians of these maps. The Templars were in possession of many ancient texts and sources, some of which may have included geographical information about lands across the ocean. It is conceivable that the Templars, through their vast trade networks and their interactions with various cultures, had access to information about the Americas long before Columbus. The idea that the Templars could have created or acquired such maps raises fascinating questions about their role in pre-Columbian exploration. It's important to note that the Templars were not just knights. They were also adept traders, financiers, and navigators. Their ability to gather, store, and share information would have been crucial to their success, and it is possible that they acquired maps and geographical knowledge from their travels and interactions with distant cultures. The Templar's secretive nature means that much of this knowledge may have been concealed from the public eye, hidden within the Order's vaults, or passed down through coded messages and symbols. In addition to the Pyre-Reis map, there are other ancient maps that suggest the possibility of pre-Columbian exploration of the Americas. One of the most famous of these is the Vinland map, a medieval manuscript map that shows the coast of North America, specifically a region known as Vinland. The Vinland map is believed to have been created around the 15th century and depicts a portion of North America with remarkable accuracy. The map shows a landmass to the west of Greenland, which many scholars believe corresponds to parts of North America. This map has sparked considerable debate, with some historians arguing that it is evidence of Viking exploration of the Americas, while others suggest that it may have been created by the Templars. While the Vinland map has long been associated with Norse explorers, its existence raises a number of questions about the spread of geographical knowledge in medieval Europe. It is possible that the map was influenced not only by Viking voyages, but also by Templar knowledge of the Americas. The Templars' vast network of connections across Europe, the Middle East, and the Mediterranean would have given them access to a wide range of information, including information about the New World. Whether the map was created by the Templars or simply reflects their awareness of the Americas, it suggests that European explorers may have known about the land across the Atlantic long before Columbus. The idea that the Templars could have played a role in the creation or dissemination of these maps is further supported by the historical context of the Order's influence. The Templars were not only skilled warriors, but also expert financiers and traders. Their vast wealth and influence allowed them to travel extensively, and their command of the seas made them well-positioned to gather knowledge from distant lands. The Templars' involvement in the Crusades and their presence in the Holy Land gave them access to a wide variety of cultures, and they were known to have traded with merchants from the East, including those from Persia, India, and even China. This network of connections could have provided them with access to geographical knowledge from civilizations far beyond Europe. One of the most significant aspects of the Templars' exploration of the world was their involvement in maritime activities. The Templars were known for their naval prowess, and their fleet was considered one of the most formidable in the Mediterranean. The Order's ships traveled throughout Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa, and it is possible that the Templars also ventured across the Atlantic. Their maritime skills and their extensive network of ports and trading routes made it feasible for them to explore lands far beyond the familiar shores of Europe. The idea that the Templars may have crossed the Atlantic in search of new lands or ancient relics is not as far-fetched as it might seem. In addition to the Pyre-Reis and Vinland maps, there are other geographical clues that suggest the Templars may have been aware of the Americas. Some researchers point to the unusual symbols and markings found on ancient Templar structures, such as the famous Newport Tower in Rhode Island. The tower's design is thought to be linked to Templar architecture, and some believe that it was built as a navigational aid or a monument to the Templars' voyages across the Atlantic. Similarly, the Kensington runestone, a mysterious artifact found in Minnesota, bears inscriptions that some believe indicate a Templar presence in North America centuries before Columbus. These artifacts, along with the ancient maps, suggest that the Templars may have had a far-reaching network of exploration that included not only Europe and the Middle East, but also the Americas. The Templars were known to be secretive about their activities, and much of their knowledge was concealed from the public eye. It is possible that their voyages to the Americas were part of this hidden history, obscured by time and the forces that sought to suppress their power and influence. The question of whether the Templars knew about the Americas before Columbus is not merely a matter of historical curiosity. It challenges the conventional narrative of history, suggesting that the discovery of the New World may have been far more complex than we have been taught. The existence of ancient maps, cryptic symbols, and mysterious artifacts points to a hidden history of exploration that is yet to be fully uncovered. The Templars, with their vast network of influence and their secretive nature, were uniquely positioned to explore distant lands, and they may have done so long before Columbus ever set sail. In the coming sections, we will continue to explore the evidence that supports the theory of Templar voyages to the Americas, examining other historical records, artifacts, and modern-day research that suggest the Templars may have played a significant role in pre-Columbian exploration. By piecing together these clues, we may begin to uncover the truth behind one of history's greatest mysteries, the Templars' forgotten voyage to the New World. The quest to uncover the truth behind the Templars' possible voyage to the Americas does not solely rely on ancient maps and cryptic symbols. It also hinges on the discovery of artifacts and the legends that have been passed down through centuries. Over the years, researchers, historians, and enthusiasts have pointed to a series of curious finds across North America that seem to hint at the presence of the Templars long before Columbus' famous journey. These artifacts, some enigmatic and others seemingly out of place in the historical narrative, have sparked debates over whether the Templars were truly the first Europeans to set foot in the New World. One of the most famous and controversial artifacts that may point to Templar presence in North America is the Kensington runestone. Discovered in 1898 in Minnesota, the runestone is a large slab of sandstone inscribed with a message in a form of Old Norse, the language of the Vikings. The inscription claims to document an exploration by Norsemen in the year 1362, which, if true, would place their presence in North America long before Columbus' time. The message reads like a log, stating that a group of Norsemen had journeyed to the area, established a camp, and even encountered Native Americans. The most fascinating part of the inscription is its mention of a distance traveled, suggesting that the explorers ventured from a more established settlement, which could have been Greenland, and explored the interior of the continent. While the stone is often cited as evidence of Viking exploration, many researchers also believe the inscription could be linked to the Templars. The use of the Old Norse language, along with the mention of a hidden treasure, has led some scholars to speculate that the Templars might have collaborated with or inherited knowledge from the Vikings. The Templars' known penchant for secrecy and their far-reaching exploration activities make it plausible that they could have used Norse settlements in Greenland as a base for their own expeditions. The Kensington runestone raises the possibility that the Templars were not only aware of the Americas, but may have had a significant presence there in the 14th century. Another key artifact in the search for Templar traces in the New World is the Newport Tower in Rhode Island. This mysterious structure, built from stone and thought to be at least 500 years old, bears many architectural similarities to Templar buildings found across Europe, such as those in Scotland and France. The tower is circular, a shape that is symbolic in Templar architecture, and it incorporates stonework that suggests advanced knowledge of building techniques. The precise purpose of a Newport Tower remains uncertain, but some believe it may have served as a navigational aid, an astronomical observatory, or even a ceremonial site. Given the Templars' mastery of navigation and their secretive nature, it is entirely possible that the Newport Tower was built as a marker for their voyages across the Atlantic. In addition to the Newport Tower, other Templar-like structures have been identified in various parts of North America. Researchers have pointed to similar round towers, stone foundations, and odd alignments that suggest a Templar influence. These structures, often hidden in plain sight or obscured by time, offer tantalizing evidence that the Templars may have established colonies or outposts on the American continent, long before the age of European exploration became officially recognized. The search for Templar artifacts in the New World is not limited to physical structures. Numerous objects have been discovered that appear to have connections to Templar lore, religious symbolism, or rituals. Among these are small carvings, crosses, and coins found in areas where the Templars are believed to have traveled. For example, in 1985, a group of researchers uncovered a carved stone cross near the shores of Lake Michigan. The symbol closely resembles the Templar cross, and its discovery in such an unusual location prompted further speculation about the Templars' presence in the region. Similar objects have been found in other parts of North America, including carvings that resemble Templar religious symbols or even references to sacred geometry. What makes these artifacts so compelling is not just their appearance, but their context. Many of these objects are found in locations where there is no clear explanation for their presence, raising questions about why such items would be buried or left behind by European explorers, especially if those explorers were not supposed to be there. This mystery deepens when one considers the secretive nature of the Templars. It's well documented that the Templars were adept at hiding their activities, whether through coded messages, hidden symbols, or concealed artifacts. If they did indeed explore the Americas, it is likely that they would have gone to great lengths to obscure their presence, leaving behind only cryptic clues for future generations to decipher. The Templars' connection to the Holy Grail and other sacred relics is another key factor that may explain the artifacts found in the Americas. The Templars were famously believed to have been the guardians of the Holy Grail, a mystical object thought to hold immense power and knowledge. Some researchers speculate that the Templars' journey to the Americas was not merely for exploration, but in search of lost religious artifacts, or to protect them from falling into the wrong hands. This theory is supported by the discovery of objects that seem to have religious or esoteric significance, many of which could have been carried by the Templars on their voyages. While it's impossible to say definitively whether these artifacts are directly tied to the Templars, the consistent pattern of symbolism, geographic locations, and historical context suggests that the order may have left a hidden legacy in the Americas. The idea that the Templars could have used the Americas as a place to hide treasures, relics, or knowledge is not only plausible, but fits with the order's secretive nature. The Templars, who had already established a reputation for safeguarding ancient knowledge and relics in Europe, would likely have seen the New World as a place where such objects could be concealed away from the scrutiny of both the church and secular authorities. Beyond physical artifacts, there are also a number of oral traditions and legends that suggest a connection between the Templars and the Americas. Indigenous stories from various Native American tribes contain references to strange visitors from across the sea, often described as pale-skinned or bearded men, who arrived long before Columbus. These accounts, which have been passed down through generations, describe encounters with mysterious figures who brought knowledge, technology, and even religious teachings. While these stories are often dismissed by mainstream historians as myth, some researchers believe they may contain kernels of truth. The idea that these strange visitors could have been Templar Knights, armed with advanced knowledge, religious authority, and the ability to navigate the seas, is a theory that continues to intrigue scholars. One such legend comes from the Hopi tribe in the American Southwest, which speaks of bearded men who arrived in their lands from across the ocean, bringing with them advanced knowledge of agriculture, astronomy, and other sciences. These visitors, the Hopi believe, played a key role in shaping their culture and guiding them toward a greater understanding of the universe. While some scholars attribute these stories to early contact with the Spanish or other European explorers, the timing of these legends and their descriptions of the visitors do not always align with known historical events. Could these be remnants of Templar expeditions to the New World, passed down through generations of Native American tribes? Similarly, in the forests of New England, there are stories of ancient, stone-carved symbols that resemble Templar crosses and other religious motifs. Local legends speak of mysterious figures who arrived in the region centuries before Columbus, leaving behind markers and hidden messages. These stories, like many others, have largely been relegated to the realm of folklore, but they continue to be studied by researchers who believe they may contain hidden truths about the Templars' early presence in the Americas. The presence of these artifacts and legends, combined with the Templars' secretive nature and their vast network of influence, paints a compelling picture of an order that may have been far more involved in the exploration and settlement of the Americas than history has acknowledged. Whether through physical artifacts, hidden symbols, or oral traditions, the traces of Templar activity in the New World seem to suggest that their journey across the Atlantic was not merely a one-time event, but part of a broader, more deliberate exploration that may have spanned many years. As we continue to uncover these clues, the question remains, why were these Templar expeditions kept secret for so long? Were they searching for ancient relics, safeguarding sacred knowledge, or simply trying to establish a hidden presence in the New World? Whatever the case may be, The artifacts and legends surrounding the Templars in the Americas continue to challenge our understanding of history and open the door to new possibilities about the lost voyages that could have shaped the course of civilization long before Columbus. The potential presence of the Knights Templar in the Americas centuries before Christopher Columbus raises not only questions about European exploration, but also about the interactions between these medieval knights and the indigenous cultures they might have encountered. If the Templars did indeed cross the Atlantic, their arrival would have preceded most known contact between Europeans and Native Americans, which would mean that they might have had a far-reaching influence on the indigenous populations, either through direct interaction, cultural exchange, or even the transfer of knowledge. This interaction, if it occurred, could have left lasting traces in the traditions, stories, and spiritual practices of Native American tribes. Traces that remain hidden in plain sight within the rich tapestry of indigenous mythology and legend. The Knights Templar were, above all, a society deeply embedded in religious and esoteric traditions. They were initiates into a wide array of spiritual and mystic teachings, blending elements of Christianity, Gnosticism, ancient Egyptian religion, and other sacred traditions. This eclectic mix of beliefs, coupled with their far-reaching network of knights, explorers, and traders, suggests that they may have carried with them not only military prowess and religious fervor, but also advanced knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, architecture, and symbolic systems. Given their potential interest in the sacred and the mystical, the Templars may have been drawn to the Americas not only for the pursuit of treasure or relics, but also for the rich spiritual landscapes and wisdom that indigenous cultures had cultivated over millennia. When we look at the history of indigenous cultures in North and South America, we find that many of these societies were highly advanced, with deep understandings of astronomy, agriculture, mathematics, and architecture. In fact, some of these cultures, such as the Maya, Aztec, and Inca, built monumental cities, developed sophisticated systems of writing and record-keeping, and had detailed knowledge of celestial movements long before the arrival of Europeans. The idea that the Templars could have interacted with these civilizations and shared or learned from their knowledge is a compelling theory, one that suggests a potential fusion of Old World and New World spiritual and scientific practices. One of the most significant areas where this interaction could have left traces is in the realm of symbolism. The Templars were famous for their use of specific symbols, such as the cross, the pentagram, and other geometric and mystical designs. These symbols were not merely decorative, but served as representations of higher spiritual truths, guiding the Templars on their path of initiation and secret knowledge. It is noteworthy that many Native American cultures also employed complex symbolic systems, particularly in their religious and ceremonial practices. The use of geometric patterns, spirals, and symbolic motifs is prevalent in Native American art, especially in the southwestern United States, Mesoamerica, and the Andean regions of South America. Could these shared symbols indicate a deeper connection between Templar knowledge and indigenous spiritual practices? Could the Templars have been influenced by, or even contributed to, the mystical traditions of the Native American tribes? One of the most prominent examples of symbolic overlap comes from the presence of spirals, circles, and crosses in both Templar and Native American cultures. The Templars used the cross not only as a religious symbol, but also as a representation of the cosmic order, with its 4 arms symbolizing the 4 cardinal directions, the 4 elements, and the balance of opposites. In Native American culture, the cross-like motif is found in many forms, including in the symbolism of the medicine wheel, which is a central symbol in many Plains and Western tribes. The medicine wheel represents the cyclical nature of life and the interconnectedness of all things, with each quadrant symbolizing a different aspect of existence, similar to the Templar understanding of the cross as a symbol of balance and cosmic order. Another example of shared symbolism is the use of the spiral. The Templars often used the spiral as a symbol of spiritual evolution, representing the journey of the soul toward higher knowledge and enlightenment. Spirals are also a common motif in Native American art, particularly in the Southwest, where they are used to represent growth, transformation, and the cyclical nature of life. The spiral appears in petroglyphs, pottery, and textiles, often linked to the idea of a spiritual journey or the flow of energy in the universe. This shared symbol could point to a deeper, possibly even mystical connection between the Templars and indigenous cultures, one that transcended mere surface-level interaction and suggested a deeper exchange of ideas about the nature of existence and the universe. One of the most intriguing aspects of this connection between the Templars and indigenous cultures is the possibility that the Templars brought with them advanced knowledge of astronomy. The Templars were known for their astronomical expertise, as they were deeply involved in studying the movements of the stars and planets, particularly in relation to religious and ritual practices. Their knowledge of the stars and the sky was so advanced that they were often able to align their buildings and structures with celestial bodies, such as the solstices and equinoxes, a practice that also appears in indigenous cultures across the Americas. For example, the ancient Maya civilization had an extraordinarily sophisticated understanding of astronomy, which they used to create accurate calendars and align their temples with celestial events. The Templars, too, had a deep interest in celestial alignments, particularly those that corresponded to the movements of the sun, moon, and planets. Given the Templars' interest in sacred geometry and astronomy, it is possible that their travels to the Americas could have led to an exchange of astronomical knowledge with indigenous cultures. This could explain some of the similarities in the way that Templars and Native American tribes use the stars and celestial bodies in their rituals and practices. Another area of potential interaction between the Templars and indigenous peoples is in the realm of architecture. The Templars were renowned for their architectural achievements, particularly in the construction of their castles, churches, and fortifications. Many of their buildings, especially those in the Holy Land in Europe, were designed with sacred geometry in mind, using precise measurements and alignments to create structures that were both functional and spiritually significant. Similarly, many Native American cultures, including the ancestral Puebloans and the Mayans, built architectural marvels that were aligned with celestial events and incorporated geometric patterns into their design. The Templars' advanced understanding of architecture, especially their use of geometry, could have influenced or been shared with indigenous cultures during their voyages to the New World. It is also possible that the Templars' knowledge of sacred geometry and mathematics could have had a direct impact on indigenous cultures' understanding of these concepts. The use of the number 4, for instance, is significant in both Templar and Native American symbolism, as seen in the medicine wheel and the Templar cross. This numerical symbolism may represent a deeper understanding of universal principles, such as balance, harmony, and the cyclical nature of life. If the Templars shared these ideas with indigenous peoples, it could have led to a blending of Old World and New World philosophies, one that emphasized the interconnectedness of all things and the importance of maintaining balance in both the physical and spiritual realms. In addition to these symbolic and philosophical connections, there are also stories from Native American oral traditions that speak of bearded men or strange visitors who arrived from across the sea. These visitors were often described as possessing advanced knowledge and technology, and were sometimes associated with the arrival of new religious or spiritual teachings. While many scholars attribute these stories to the arrival of Europeans in the 15th and 16th centuries, some researchers have suggested that these bearded men may have been Templars who arrived in the Americas long before Columbus. These oral traditions, passed down through generations, could hold hidden truths about the nature of early European exploration and the interactions between Templar Knights and indigenous peoples. The possibility that the Templars played a role in shaping or influencing indigenous cultures is not just a matter of historical curiosity. It also opens up a broader discussion about the way that history is remembered and told. The story of European exploration in the Americas has long been dominated by the narrative of Columbus and the subsequent colonization of the New World. However, the potential presence of the Templars in the Americas prior to Columbus suggests a far more complex history, one that involves deeper interactions between indigenous peoples and early European explorers. The blending of Old World and New World knowledge, spirituality, and symbolism could have created a unique cultural fusion that was erased or forgotten by later generations. As we continue to explore the mysteries surrounding the Templars and their possible connections to the indigenous cultures of the Americas, it becomes clear that the history of early exploration is far more intricate than we have been taught. The evidence of shared symbols, knowledge, and legends points to the possibility of a hidden chapter in the story of human history, one that is yet to be fully understood or acknowledged. The Templars, with their vast network of influence, their esoteric knowledge, and their secretive nature, may have been far more than just warriors and financiers. They may have been, in fact, the bridge between two worlds, Old World and New World, that were once more closely connected than we have ever realized. The downfall of the Knights Templar in the early 14th century is one of the most dramatic and mysterious chapters in medieval history. The order, once immensely powerful and wealthy, was suddenly and violently suppressed, its leaders arrested and executed, its assets seized, and its legacy largely obliterated. The timing of the Templars' fall, coinciding with their vast influence in Europe and their involvement in secretive operations, including potential voyages across the Atlantic, raises profound questions about the forces behind their destruction. While the official story is that the Templars were disbanded due to charges of heresy, corruption, and treason, there are deeper, more complex narratives at play, particularly when viewed through the lens of their possible secret expeditions to the New World. To understand the full scope of the Templars' fall, it is important to consider both the political and religious context of the time. In the early 1300s, the Templars were at the height of their power. The order had become not only a formidable military force, but also a financial powerhouse, managing vast landholdings, conducting banking transactions across Europe, and even controlling a network of trade routes that spanned the Mediterranean and beyond. Their wealth and influence made them indispensable to the Christian monarchies of Europe, and their loyalty to the Pope and the Catholic Church seemed unwavering. However, this very power and influence would also make them enemies of some of the most powerful figures in Christendom. One of the primary forces behind the suppression of the Templars was King Philip IV of France, also known as Philip the Fair. Philip, deeply indebted to the Templars, was facing a financial crisis in the early 1300s. His extravagant wars and political ambitions had drained the royal treasury, and he had turned to the Templars to finance his campaigns. However, as the Templars' wealth grew, so did Philip's resentment, especially as he found himself unable to repay the enormous sums he owed the order. In an effort to seize their wealth and eliminate the debt, Philip initiated a campaign to destroy the Templars. In 1307, on Friday, October 13th, Philip ordered the mass arrest of Templar knights across France, accusing them of heresy, blasphemy, and various immoral practices. The knights were tortured, forced to confess under duress, and many were burned at the stake, including the Grand Master Jacques de Molay. The charges brought against the Templars were serious and sensational. Accusations of secret rituals, idol worship, and even the denial of Christ. Yet, many historians believe these charges were fabricated to justify Philip's seizure of the Templars' wealth and power. The fact that the order's leaders were tortured and forced to confess makes it difficult to take these accusations at face value. Furthermore, no substantial evidence has ever emerged to support the claims of heresy or corruption. Instead, it seems that the Templars were destroyed because they were seen as a threat to the status quo, a threat that could not be tolerated by those in power. While King Philip's motives were political and financial, the Catholic Church's involvement in the suppression of the Templars was rooted in religious authority. Pope Clement V, under immense pressure from Philip, reluctantly agreed to disband the order in 1312. The Church, which had originally granted the Templars immense power and privileges, turned against them, marking the official end of the order. The Pope's decision to disband the Templars and the subsequent destruction of their physical records and property seemed to signal the complete eradication of the order. But even as the Templars were officially disbanded, their legacy would not disappear so easily. The secrecy and the wealth of the Templars meant that they were not easily destroyed. In fact, Many scholars argue that the order's true purpose was far more elusive than any of its outwardly public actions suggested. The Templars were often seen as guardians of esoteric knowledge, holding sacred texts, relics, and symbols that had been passed down through ancient traditions. It is possible that the Templars knew much more about the origins of Christianity, the mysteries of the ancient world, and the secrets of the Holy Grail than was ever revealed. This hidden knowledge, some believe, may have included information about the Americas, knowledge that could have been passed down from their secret voyages or from interactions with lost civilizations. Following the Templars' fall, many of the Order's surviving members went underground, and their knowledge did not vanish with them. One of the most enduring aspects of Templar history is the question of what happened to their secrets. Did the surviving Templars continue their work in secret, preserving their hidden knowledge for future generations? Some researchers argue that the Templars, knowing the danger they faced, embedded their secrets into other societies and organizations, particularly those that operated in the shadows, such as the Freemasons. The connection between the Freemasons and the Templars is a subject of considerable debate, but there are compelling reasons to believe that the Templars passed down much of their knowledge to the Masonic order. Freemasonry, with its elaborate rituals, symbols, and secretive nature, shares many similarities with the Templars' initiatory practices. Some of the symbols used by the Freemasons, such as the compass and square, mirror those found in Templar architecture and art. Additionally, many of the Masonic lodges were established in areas where the Templars were once active, particularly in Scotland and France. This suggests a potential continuity of Templar traditions, even after the formal dissolution of the order. Could the Freemasons have been the guardians of Templar knowledge, including their secret voyages to the Americas? The idea that the Templars' secret knowledge survived their official disbandment is further supported by the mysterious survival of Templar-like symbols and practices in various parts of the world. In particular, certain locations in the New World, such as the aforementioned Newport Tower in Rhode Island, bear striking similarities to Templar architecture. These locations, along with the presence of symbols that resemble Templar crosses and other iconography, suggest that the Templars may have continued their operations in the Americas long after their suppression in Europe. The possibility that the Templars left behind a hidden legacy in the New World is a subject of growing interest among researchers and conspiracy theorists alike, who argue that the Order's influence may have extended far beyond what we have been told. Moreover, the Templars' knowledge may not have been limited to just geographical locations. The Order's supposed guardianship of the Holy Grail and other sacred relics suggests that their understanding of history and religion was far deeper than mainstream narratives have acknowledged. If the Templars were in possession of knowledge related to ancient civilizations, sacred artifacts, or lost technologies, it is possible that they continued to safeguard this knowledge in secret, passing it down through their hidden networks. Their voyages to the Americas, if they occurred, could have been motivated by a desire to uncover or protect ancient relics, perhaps even artifacts that predated Christianity and had ties to earlier, forgotten civilizations. The Templar suppression also coincided with the rise of the Inquisition, which sought to eradicate heretical ideas and suppress any challenges to the authority of the Catholic Church. As a result, any evidence of Templar expeditions to the Americas or their possession of forbidden knowledge would have been carefully destroyed or hidden. The fact that so much of the Templars' history is shrouded in mystery only adds to the intrigue and suggests that there is much more to their story than we have been led to believe. As we look at the aftermath of the Templars' fall, it becomes clear that the Order's legacy did not simply vanish. It lived on in the secretive practices of later societies, in the hidden symbols scattered across the world, and in the stories passed down through generations. The Templars were not only warriors, they were keepers of knowledge that, to this day, continues to spark curiosity and speculation. The fall of the Templars was not the end of their story. It was only the beginning of a new chapter, one in which their secrets would remain hidden, waiting to be uncovered. Whether through Freemasonry, the symbols embedded in architecture, or the mysterious artifacts found in the New World, the Templars' hidden legacy has left an indelible mark on history, one that continues to captivate those who seek to unravel the mysteries of the past. And in that search, the question remains, what did the Templars know, and what did they leave behind? The answers may lie in the forgotten corners of the world, waiting to be rediscovered. The Age of Exploration is often depicted as the period when European powers, particularly Spain, Portugal, and later Britain and France, embarked on bold journeys across the world's oceans in search of new territories, resources, and trade routes. Historians typically credit figures like Christopher Columbus, Vasco da Gama, and Ferdinand Magellan for pioneering the European expansion into the Americas, Africa, and Asia. However, what if the true story of global exploration includes a much earlier and more mysterious chapter? What if the Knights Templar, long before Columbus, were secretly involved in exploring distant shores, navigating the unknown waters of the Atlantic, and laying the groundwork for later European voyages? The possibility that the Templars were involved in the early exploration of the Americas, and perhaps even in other parts of the world, challenges the conventional narrative of European exploration. While much of the known history of the Templars focuses on their military activities during the Crusades, their role as financiers, and their subsequent suppression by the Church, there is another facet of their history that is often overlooked: their exceptional maritime capabilities. The Templars were not merely a religious and military order. They were also adept seafarers, skilled navigators, and experienced traders who understood the seas and the winds. The question is whether this expertise might have extended beyond the Mediterranean into the open ocean and even across the Atlantic. The Templars' naval prowess is well documented in their operations across the Mediterranean, where they controlled a fleet of ships that enabled them to maintain strategic dominance over key maritime trade routes. Their naval strength allowed them to transport goods, people, and treasure across vast distances, giving them a level of mobility and reach that few other European powers could rival. Given their vast network of contacts and their financial power, it is plausible that the Templars were also aware of distant lands across the ocean, even if such knowledge was kept hidden from the broader European public. The Templars were known to be privy to esoteric knowledge, much of which was related to ancient civilizations and sacred geography. Could they have used their maritime expertise to venture beyond the known world, discovering the Americas long before Columbus? One of the most compelling pieces of evidence suggesting that the Templars may have been involved in early transatlantic exploration is the strong possibility that they possessed advanced navigational knowledge, particularly the ability to navigate the open sea without relying on the well-known land-based landmarks. This knowledge would have been crucial for any voyages across the Atlantic, especially given the lack of accurate maps and the limited technology of the time. In the Mediterranean, the Templars were adept at navigating the treacherous waters of the Aegean, the Adriatic, and the North African coast, areas rife with hazards such as pirates, storms, and reefs. To successfully navigate the Atlantic would have required even greater skill and understanding of the ocean currents, the stars, and the changing weather patterns, knowledge that the Templars, as some scholars argue, may have possessed. An important part of this puzzle is the Templars' possible access to ancient and lost knowledge. It is widely believed that the Templars were custodians of esoteric wisdom, which they may have inherited from earlier civilizations such as the Egyptians, Phoenicians, and Greeks. The Phoenicians, known as the greatest maritime traders and navigators of the ancient world, are thought to have traveled extensively across the Mediterranean and possibly beyond, even reaching the coasts of the Americas long before Columbus. If the Templars were aware of such knowledge or had inherited it through their wide network of contacts, it is conceivable that they could have applied it to their own voyages, venturing into the unknown waters of the Atlantic in search of new lands. A particularly intriguing piece of evidence that hints at early Templar voyages across the Atlantic is the series of mysterious maps that have surfaced over the centuries, showing detailed coastlines and land masses that were not known to Europeans at the time. The Piri-Reis map, one of the most famous of these, is often cited as proof that ancient navigators, including the Templars, had access to knowledge of the Americas long before Columbus. The Piri-Reis map, created in 1513 by the Ottoman Admiral Piri-Reis, shows parts of South America and the Caribbean with remarkable accuracy, and it also includes a depiction of the coast of Antarctica, without the ice that was later discovered by modern explorers. The accuracy of these maps, especially given the limited cartographic knowledge of the time, suggests that the source material for these maps may have been based on ancient or forgotten voyages, possibly even those made by the Templars. While it's difficult to definitively link the Templars to the Pyre Reis map, the notion that they were capable of making such voyages is not as far-fetched as it may seem. The Templars were not only skilled sailors, but also had access to advanced navigational tools. Their extensive network of trade routes, particularly in the Mediterranean and the Middle East, would have given them access to a wealth of geographical knowledge. Furthermore, the Templars had a reputation for secrecy and for keeping records hidden from the public eye, so it is possible that any records of their transatlantic expeditions were deliberately concealed, perhaps as part of the Order's broader effort to protect sacred knowledge or to avoid persecution. Adding to the mystery of Templar exploration is the possibility that they established colonies or outposts in the Americas, particularly in areas like the Caribbean or the northeastern coast of North America. There are numerous theories, based on a combination of local folklore, indigenous stories, and strange artifacts, suggesting that the Templars may have left behind hidden markers or settlements in the New World. One of the most famous of these is the Newport Tower in Rhode Island, which many believe was built by Templar Knights. The tower's distinctive circular shape and its unusual construction materials, which differ from other colonial-era buildings in the region, have led some researchers to propose that it may have been a Templar observatory or navigational aid, built by the Order as part of their efforts to chart the Atlantic and its coastal regions. Additionally, the discovery of strange symbols and Templar-like iconography in certain parts of North America, including crosses carved into stones or embedded in structures, further fuels the theory that the Templars had a presence in the Americas. The presence of such structures, along with other mysterious artifacts such as the Kensington runestone, which appears to have been left by Norse explorers in Minnesota, adds another layer of intrigue to the Templar narrative. While mainstream historians tend to dismiss these artifacts as hoaxes or anomalies, some researchers argue that they are evidence of a broader, pre-Columbian exploration of the Americas. In this view, the Templars may have been part of an even larger network of explorers, one that included the Vikings, the Phoenicians, and other ancient seafarers, who ventured across the Atlantic to uncover the secrets of the New World. The Templars' connection to the age of exploration may have also extended beyond their physical voyages and settlements. Their involvement in trade, finance, and banking made them central figures in the economies of medieval Europe. The Templars were known for their ability to move vast sums of money across borders and for their role as intermediaries in international trade. This financial acumen, combined with their maritime expertise, could have given them the resources to fund large-scale exploration projects, potentially even expeditions to the Americas. The wealth and influence of the Templars may have allowed them to establish secretive networks of trade and exploration that were not recorded in the official historical accounts of the time, further obscuring their role in the discovery of the New World. If the Templars were indeed involved in early voyages to the Americas, their activities would have been deliberately hidden or suppressed after their downfall in the 14th century. The subsequent rise of European colonial powers, particularly Spain and Portugal, would have ensured that any pre-Columbian claims to the Americas were quickly erased from the historical record. The Catholic Church, eager to maintain control over the narrative of European expansion, would have been just as invested in silencing any evidence of earlier expeditions, especially if those expeditions were connected to an order that had fallen out of favor. In the centuries following the suppression of the Templars, their legacy lived on in the secret societies, Masonic orders, and occult traditions that emerged in Europe. The Freemasons, in particular, are often seen as the spiritual heirs of the Templars, and their symbols, rituals, and philosophy show strong parallels to those of the medieval knights. It is possible that these later organizations, with their secretive nature and esoteric teachings, carried forward the Templars' knowledge of exploration, including the possibility of earlier transatlantic voyages. Freemasons were involved in the early European exploration of a new world, and some have speculated that the Templars' hidden maritime knowledge may have influenced the later voyages of discovery. In summary, the Templars' role in the age of exploration represents a fascinating and often overlooked chapter in the history of global exploration. The Order's expertise in navigation, their access to esoteric knowledge, and their vast network of connections make it plausible that they were not only aware of the Americas, but may have actively explored and even established settlements there. While much of this history remains shrouded in mystery, the evidence, whether in the form of maps, artifacts, or historical records, suggests that the Templars played a far more significant role in the discovery of the New World than we have been led to believe. Their maritime prowess and hidden legacy may yet reveal new insights into the true story of the age of exploration, one that challenges the traditional narrative and uncovers the lost voyages of the Knights Templar. The fall of the Knights Templar in the early 14th century did not signify the end of their influence. Rather, it marked the beginning of a long and shadowy legacy that has reverberated throughout history. Despite their official disbandment, the Templars left behind an enigmatic imprint on European and later global cultures. This influence has manifested in the form of secret societies, cryptic symbols, and hidden knowledge, which continue to intrigue historians, conspiracy theorists, and enthusiasts of ancient mysteries. The Templars' legacy, shrouded in secrecy, became intertwined with the rise of Freemasonry, secretive orders, and the continued search for their long-lost treasures and esoteric wisdom. As modern explorers, scholars, and adventurers continue to delve into the mysteries of the Templars, the question remains, what was the true nature of their legacy, and how does it influence our understanding of history today? The most immediate and visible manifestation of the Templars' continued influence can be found in the rise of secret societies in the centuries following their suppression. One of the most prominent organizations linked to the Templars is the Freemasons. Though the exact relationship between the Templars and Freemasonry remains a subject of debate, the parallels between the two are striking. The Freemasons, much like the Templars, have a rich tradition of secrecy, ritualistic practices, and the use of symbols that can be traced back to medieval times. Both groups have been associated with advanced knowledge of architecture, mathematics, astronomy, and sacred geometry, and both orders share a deep connection to the idea of hidden wisdom passed down through generations of initiates. The Freemasons' symbolic use of the square and compass, for example, can be seen as a direct continuation of the Templars' focus on sacred geometry. The Templars, with their vast network of castles and fortifications, were known for their advanced architectural knowledge, which included the use of precise measurements and geometric patterns in their buildings. The Freemasons, whose origins can be traced back to the medieval stonemasons' guilds, carried this tradition forward, and many of their lodges and temples feature intricate symbolism and architectural elements that echo the Templar style. Moreover, many of the earliest Masonic lodges were located in regions that were historically connected to the Templars, such as Scotland and France, further suggesting a link between the two organizations. Freemasonry's deep connection to the Templars has fueled a host of theories suggesting that the Freemasons are the modern heirs to the Templars' secret knowledge, including their supposed discoveries in the Americas. The idea that the Templars passed on their hidden wisdom to future generations of initiates, particularly through organizations like the Freemasons, has become a cornerstone of many conspiracy theories. These theories posit that the Templars, with their wealth, influence, and esoteric knowledge, did not simply vanish after their suppression, but instead took refuge in secret societies that continued their work in the shadows. Freemasonry, with its emphasis on personal enlightenment, ritual initiation, and the preservation of sacred knowledge, is often seen as the keeper of the Templars' most profound secrets. In addition to Freemasonry, other secret societies and organizations, such as the Rosicrucians and the Illuminati, have been linked to the Templars. The Rosicrucians, a mystical order that emerged in the early 17th century, are said to have inherited much of the Templars' esoteric teachings, particularly their knowledge of alchemy, sacred geometry, and the spiritual mysteries of the universe. The Illuminati, a secret society founded in the 18th century, is also believed by some to have drawn inspiration from the Templars, with its emphasis on secrecy, enlightenment, and the pursuit of hidden knowledge. These groups, though separate and distinct in their goals and practices, share a common thread of secrecy and a belief in the transmission of ancient wisdom, and many researchers see them as modern-day successors to the Templars' elusive legacy. One of the most enduring aspects of the Templars' legacy is their use of symbols, which have continued to captivate the imagination of both scholars and the general public. The Templar cross, with its distinctive red design, is perhaps the most famous of these symbols. It has been adopted by a wide range of organizations, including the Freemasons, and is often associated with the idea of Christian mysticism and the pursuit of hidden knowledge. The Templar cross, along with other symbols such as the pentagram, the compass, and the key, has become a symbol of secrecy, power, and the quest for truth. These symbols have been incorporated into everything from modern occult practices to popular conspiracy theories, and their meanings have been endlessly debated and reinterpreted. The Templars were also known for their use of cryptic codes and ciphers, which they employed to protect their secrets. It is believed that many of their documents, including financial records and maps, were encoded to keep them hidden from outsiders. The most famous example of this is the Templar treasure, which has been the subject of much speculation. According to legend, the Templars amassed vast wealth during their time in the Holy Land, and it is believed that they buried or hid this treasure before their downfall. The exact location of the treasure remains a mystery, but many believe that it is hidden in a secret location, protected by cryptic symbols and encoded messages that only those with the right knowledge can decipher. This connection between the Templars and hidden treasures has been a focal point of many modern-day treasure hunters and explorers. Over the years, numerous expeditions have been launched in search of the Templar treasure, particularly in locations such as Oak Island in Nova Scotia, Canada, and the island of Madeira in Portugal. The search for the Templar treasure has become a modern-day quest, driven by the belief that the Order's secrets are still buried beneath the earth, waiting to be uncovered. While no definitive evidence of the treasure has been found, the ongoing fascination with the Templars' hidden wealth is a testament to their enduring legacy and the mystery that surrounds their history. Beyond the Templar cross and treasure maps, there are also other less obvious symbols that have been linked to the Templars. For instance, the Templars' use of specific architectural features, such as the circular tower, has been replicated in buildings and structures around the world, particularly in regions with known Templar activity. These structures, often thought to be constructed as part of the Order's fortified network, are said to contain hidden messages or clues that point to the Templars' secret activities, including their possible involvement in the exploration and settlement of the Americas. The presence of these architectural symbols in places like the Newport Tower in Rhode Island and Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland further fuels the belief that the Templars were involved in a larger, more secretive mission, one that is yet to be fully understood. The Templars' influence can also be seen in the continued fascination with their role in the search for the Holy Grail. The Grail, an object that has been the subject of myth and legend for centuries, is often associated with the Templars, who are believed by some to have been its secret guardians. The Grail, as the myth goes, was a powerful and mystical relic that held the key to ancient wisdom and knowledge, and the Templars' involvement in its search has been a central theme in many stories and films, including Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code. According to some theories, the Grail represents more than just a physical object. It symbolizes the pursuit of higher knowledge, the uncovering of hidden truths, and the bridging of the gap between the known and the unknown. In this sense, the Templars' quest for the Grail was not just a religious pursuit, but an esoteric journey that involved the uncovering of secrets long buried in the past. While much of the Templars' legacy has been clouded by myth and speculation, modern-day researchers and historians continue to uncover new evidence that sheds light on their true role in history. From the discovery of mysterious symbols in old churches and buildings to the ongoing search for hidden treasures, the Templars' impact on our world is far from over. The mysteries surrounding their secret knowledge, their involvement in ancient explorations, and their connection to hidden societies continue to fascinate and inspire people today. As new discoveries are made and old theories are re-examined, it becomes increasingly clear that the Templars left behind a legacy that is not just about knights and castles, but about a deeper, more profound understanding of history, spirituality, and the pursuit of hidden wisdom. In conclusion, the Templars' legacy is not confined to the pages of history books, but is a living, breathing mystery that continues to captivate the imagination. Their influence can be seen in the secret societies that emerged in their wake, in the symbols that adorned buildings and artifacts, and in the ongoing search for their hidden knowledge and treasure. The true nature of their legacy remains elusive, but as modern-day adventurers continue to explore the mysteries of the past, the Templars' impact on the world is likely to remain a source of fascination and inspiration for generations to come. Whether through their connection to the Holy Grail, their secretive organizations, or their possible role in early exploration, the Templars have left an indelible mark on history, one that continues to spark curiosity and invite us to question the limits of our knowledge. The history of the Knights Templar is steeped in mystery and intrigue, but one of the most fascinating aspects of their legacy is the mystical and prophetic elements that are intertwined with their story. The Templars, like many ancient orders, were known for their deep involvement in esoteric knowledge, including sacred geometry, astrology, and prophecy. This connection to the mystical world was not just a product of their religious devotion, but also a reflection of a more ancient, arcane understanding of the cosmos and human history. In particular, there are theories suggesting that the Templars, with their secret knowledge, may have been in possession of prophetic insights that not only informed their religious and military actions, but also guided them toward the discovery of the New World, long before Columbus made his historic journey. The Templars' understanding of prophecy is often linked to their connection to the Holy Grail, an object whose significance in both spiritual and historical terms has been the subject of debate for centuries. The Grail, in many interpretations, is more than just a physical relic. It represents an ancient, hidden wisdom, knowledge that, when uncovered, is believed to reveal the true purpose of human existence and the mysteries of the universe. The idea that the Templars may have possessed or been guardians of such knowledge has given rise to countless theories about the role the order may have played in pre-Columbian exploration of the Americas. Some suggest that the Templars' interest in the Grail was not only a religious pursuit, but also an esoteric journey that involved a deeper understanding of the spiritual and physical world. One of the most important pieces of evidence for this theory is the idea of Templar prophecy, whether in the form of ancient maps, secret texts, or hidden messages embedded in their symbols. According to some researchers, the Templars may have received or even developed a prophetic roadmap that guided them to the Americas. This could have been a result of their wide-ranging contacts with other ancient civilizations, particularly the Phoenicians, Egyptians, and other seafaring cultures that had already explored the Atlantic long before Columbus set sail. The Templars, as a highly secretive order with access to vast resources and knowledge, could have been in possession of texts or prophecies that suggested the Americas were not only known to the ancients, but were also seen as a key destination in a greater spiritual journey. One of the most intriguing aspects of Templar prophecy is their connection to celestial events. The Templars were known for their advanced understanding of astronomy and sacred geometry, fields of knowledge that were deeply intertwined with their spiritual practices. In particular, the Templars were adept at observing and interpreting the movements of the stars, the sun, and the moon, aligning their sacred sites and structures with celestial phenomena. This attention to the cosmos suggests that the Templars believed in a divine order of the universe, one that was written in the stars and could be interpreted through careful observation and mystical knowledge. Some theorists believe that the Templars' journeys across the Atlantic were not merely a matter of exploration, but were, in fact, part of a larger, cosmically ordained plan, a prophecy that linked the rise of European exploration to a deeper spiritual purpose. The idea that the Templars may have had access to ancient, prophetic knowledge that pointed to the Americas is further supported by the existence of strange, cryptic maps and symbols that have surfaced throughout history. One of the most famous of these is the Pyre Reis map, created in 1513 by the Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis, which depicts the coastlines of South America and the Caribbean with remarkable accuracy. This map, which is based on ancient sources, shows parts of the world that were not known to Europeans at the time, including the northernmost parts of Antarctica, before it was covered in ice. The accuracy of this map has led many to speculate that it is based on knowledge passed down from ancient explorers who were aware of the Americas long before the age of Columbus. Some believe that the Templars were among these early explorers, perhaps in possession of an ancient map or prophecy that guided them to these distant lands. Another key piece of evidence supporting the idea of Templar prophecies is the role of the Templars in the construction of sacred sites and structures across Europe. Many of these structures, including churches, castles, and other religious buildings, are thought to have been intentionally designed with celestial alignments in mind. The Templars, as master builders and architects, were known to have used advanced knowledge of geometry and astronomy to create structures that were not only functional, but also spiritually significant. Some researchers believe that these buildings were constructed to mark important astronomical events, such as solstices and equinoxes, and may have contained hidden messages or prophetic symbols pointing to future events, possibly even the Templars' role in the discovery of the New World. One of the most famous examples of such a structure is Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland, a site that has long been associated with the Templars and with the mysteries of the Holy Grail. The chapel, which was built in the 15th century, contains a wealth of symbols, carvings, and hidden messages that many believe point to the Templars' involvement in the quest for the Grail, and possibly even their secret knowledge of the Americas. The chapel's architecture is full of geometric patterns, and its carvings include depictions of plants and symbols that some believe were intended to represent the sacred knowledge passed down by the Templars. These hidden messages, combined with the chapel's location in an area with historical Templar connections, have fueled theories that the site was part of a larger, prophetic plan leading the Templars to the New World. In addition to the symbolism embedded in their buildings, the Templars were also known for their cryptic texts and writings, many of which remain lost to history. Some of these texts, which have never been found, are believed by some researchers to contain prophecies or instructions that guided the Templars in their journeys. These texts, if they existed, could have contained specific references to the Americas, or they may have been part of a broader spiritual tradition that linked the Order's mission to a cosmic or prophetic purpose. The absence of these documents, whether due to their destruction by the Church or their deliberate concealment, has only added to the mystique surrounding the Templars and their supposed knowledge of the Americas. There are also several ancient prophecies that have been linked to the Templars, some of which seem to predict the discovery of the Americas long before it actually occurred. One of the most famous is the Prophecy of the Popes, which was supposedly written by Saint Malachy, an Irish archbishop in the 12th century. According to the prophecy, Saint Malachy predicted the names and characteristics of all future popes until the end of time. While this prophecy is primarily concerned with the papacy, some researchers believe that it also contains hidden references to the Templars and their role in world history. The idea that the Templars were somehow involved in these ancient predictions, either through direct connection or through the interpretation of these prophecies, has added a mystical layer to their story and further fuels the notion that they were guided by a higher, divine purpose. The Templars' involvement in prophecy and their supposed foreknowledge of the Americas ties into the broader theme of their role as guardians of hidden wisdom. While many aspects of the Templars' legacy remain hidden in the mists of history, it is clear that their actions were not solely motivated by material wealth or political power. The Templars, with their deep knowledge of sacred geometry, astronomy, and esoteric spirituality, appear to have been part of a greater cosmic plan, one that included the exploration and discovery of the New World. The evidence for this theory is both tantalizing and elusive, hidden within symbols, maps, and prophecies that continue to capture the imagination of modern explorers and historians alike. The idea of Templar prophecies and their role in the discovery of the Americas is an alluring one because it suggests that the Templars were not just explorers in the physical sense, but were also engaged in a spiritual and prophetic mission. This adds a new layer of complexity to the story of the Americas, suggesting that their discovery was not an accident of history, but rather a part of a larger, divinely inspired journey. Whether through hidden maps, cryptic symbols, or prophetic texts, the Templars appear to have been guided by an unseen hand, one that led them to the New World long before it became known to the rest of Europe. In conclusion, the notion of Templar prophecies and their mystical roadmap to the Americas is a captivating theory that challenges traditional historical narratives. It suggests that the Templars, with their deep spiritual knowledge and connection to the cosmos, were part of a greater, prophetic plan that guided them to the Americas long before Columbus set sail. While much of this theory remains speculative, the evidence for the Templars' esoteric knowledge and their potential involvement in early transatlantic exploration continues to intrigue and inspire. Whether or not the Templars truly possessed prophetic insights into the Americas, their legacy remains one of mystery, spiritual depth, and the pursuit of hidden knowledge that stretches across time and space. The mystery surrounding the Knights Templar is not limited to their medieval activities or their dramatic downfall in the early 14th century. One of the most captivating aspects of their legacy involves the possibility that the Templars were in possession of ancient knowledge that predated their time, a knowledge that may have been passed down from even older civilizations. Some theories suggest that the Templars were more than just a military order. They were guardians of sacred secrets that connected the old world with the new, potentially linking them to ancient, lost civilizations and cultures that were thought to have disappeared long before the Templars themselves emerged. These civilizations, such as the ancient Egyptians, the Phoenicians, and the lost cultures of the Americas, are often cited as key players in a much larger, global narrative that connects the old world to the new world in ways that have yet to be fully understood. One of the central ideas underpinning this theory is that the Templars had access to ancient, esoteric knowledge that had been passed down through generations of scholars, priests, and explorers. This knowledge, it is suggested, may have come from the ancient Egyptians, who were renowned for their understanding of the stars, sacred geometry, and mathematics, disciplines that the Templars themselves mastered. The Egyptians, with their vast empire and extensive trade networks, were believed to have reached far beyond the Mediterranean, possibly even making contact with the peoples of the Americas. Some researchers argue that the Templars inherited or discovered this lost knowledge during their time in the Holy Land, where they would have encountered ancient texts, artifacts, and traditions that had been passed down from civilizations long forgotten by the Western world. The connection between the Templars and the Egyptians is particularly intriguing when considering their interest in sacred geometry and architecture. The ancient Egyptians were masters of geometry, and their understanding of the mathematical principles behind the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza is still considered one of the most sophisticated achievements in ancient engineering. The Templars, with their own architectural prowess, are believed to have shared this knowledge, which may have been transferred through secret channels over the centuries. It is possible that the Templars, during their time in the Holy Land, were exposed to these ancient Egyptian traditions and that they integrated these teachings into their own practices, using them in the construction of their castles, churches, and other buildings. Some researchers suggest that the Templars' understanding of geometry and mathematics may have played a key role in their ability to explore new frontiers, including the Atlantic Ocean, and may have even contributed to their ability to navigate the seas with remarkable precision. In addition to the Egyptians, the Templars are also believed to have been connected to the Phoenicians, another ancient seafaring civilization that is thought to have explored the Mediterranean and beyond. The Phoenicians were known for their extensive trade networks, and there is evidence to suggest that they may have reached the Americas long before Columbus. The Templars, with their vast network of trading contacts and maritime expertise, may have been aware of these ancient voyages and may have even been part of a larger, secretive tradition of transatlantic exploration. It is widely believed that the Templars were in possession of knowledge about the ancient world, knowledge that was passed down to them through their connections to other secret societies and ancient cultures. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence for the Templars' connection to ancient civilizations is the widespread presence of Templar-like symbols and architecture in locations across the globe. From the cryptic carvings found in the ancient ruins of the Americas to the mysterious structures scattered across Europe and the Mediterranean, these symbols often bear striking similarities to those used by the Templars in their own architecture. In particular, the use of circular towers and crosses, two iconic Templar symbols, can be found in ancient structures that predate the Templars' rise to power. These structures, many of which are aligned with celestial events such as solstices and equinoxes, suggest that the knowledge of the Templars was not confined to the medieval period, but may have been the continuation of a much older tradition of sacred geometry and astronomical observation. One of the most famous examples of this connection is the Newport Tower in Rhode Island, which many believe was built by Templar Knights during their supposed voyages to the Americas. The tower's circular shape and the use of specific architectural elements that are commonly associated with Templar buildings have led some researchers to speculate that it was constructed as part of a larger network of Templar sites across the Atlantic. The location of the tower, near a region with a history of Templar activity, further fuels this theory. It is suggested that the Templars, using their advanced knowledge of navigation and astronomy, may have established a series of such towers along the eastern seaboard of North America, marking their passage across the Atlantic and signaling the existence of a much older transatlantic connection. The discovery of other Templar-like symbols in the New World, such as the enigmatic Templar crosses and other geometric patterns, has further sparked speculation about the Templars' involvement in the Americas. In some areas, these symbols have been found carved into rocks, stones, and buildings, suggesting that the Templars may have left behind markers of their presence. These symbols are often linked to esoteric traditions and secret knowledge, and their appearance in the Americas raises the question of whether the Templars were, in fact, the first Europeans to explore the New World. While mainstream historians often dismiss these theories as fanciful or based on spurious evidence, the sheer number and geographical distribution of these Templar-like symbols suggest that there may be more to the story than we have been told. The Templars' potential connection to ancient civilizations also extends to their supposed knowledge of the Americas' indigenous peoples. Some researchers argue that the Templars, during their travels through the Mediterranean and the Middle East, may have encountered ancient cultures that had long-standing connections with the Americas. The idea that the Phoenicians, Egyptians, or other ancient civilizations had reached the New World is not a new one. In fact, there is evidence to suggest that these ancient peoples may have established contact with the Americas long before Columbus, using advanced maritime techniques and navigational knowledge to reach the distant shores of the New World. If the Templars were in possession of this ancient knowledge, they could have used it to make their own journeys across the Atlantic, establishing a link between the Old World and the New. A key example of this ancient connection is the possible link between the Templars and the lost city of Atlantis, a legendary civilization that, according to Plato, was said to have existed thousands of years before the rise of ancient Greece. The myth of Atlantis has been the subject of much speculation, with some theories suggesting that it was located in the Americas or that its survivors may have traveled across the ocean to the New World. Some researchers argue that the Templars, with their vast knowledge of the ancient world, may have been aware of Atlantis and may have even sought to uncover its secrets during their explorations. The idea that the Templars were in possession of knowledge about a lost civilization, such as Atlantis, adds another layer of mystery to their story and suggests that their journeys across the Atlantic were part of a larger, spiritual mission to reconnect with humanity's ancient past. In conclusion, the Templars' connection to ancient civilizations such as Egypt, Phoenicia, and possibly even Atlantis represents a fascinating chapter in their history that continues to intrigue and inspire scholars, historians, and enthusiasts of the unknown. The possibility that the Templars were not only guardians of religious knowledge, but also keepers of ancient, esoteric wisdom passed down from older civilizations challenges our conventional understanding of history. Whether through their mastery of sacred geometry, their possible connections to lost cultures, or their journeys across the Atlantic, the Templars' legacy is far more complex and far-reaching than we have been led to believe. The question remains, were the Templars the guardians of a forgotten, ancient wisdom that bridged the Old World and the new? If so, what other secrets might lie hidden, waiting to be uncovered? As modern-day explorers continue to search for answers, the Templars' connections to ancient civilizations will likely remain one of the most enduring and tantalizing mysteries of history. The legend of the Templar treasure is perhaps one of the most enduring and captivating aspects of the Knights Templar saga. Ever since the Order's dramatic fall in the early 14th century, rumors and tales have circulated regarding a vast treasure that the Templars supposedly amassed during their time in the Holy Land. This treasure, which is said to consist of immense wealth, sacred relics, and esoteric knowledge, has become the stuff of legend, sparking the imaginations of historians, treasure hunters, and conspiracy theorists alike. Yet, despite centuries of searching, the treasure has never been conclusively found. But does it exist, or is it merely a myth, a product of the Order's mystique and the secrecy that has surrounded them for centuries? To answer this question, we must explore the historical evidence, the theories surrounding the treasure's whereabouts, and the possibility that the Templar treasure is not just a physical hoard, but something far more significant, a key to a greater mystery. The origins of the Templar treasure are shrouded in secrecy. When the Order was founded in the early 12th century, their primary mission was to protect Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land. As the Order grew in power and wealth, it began to accumulate resources, including land, fortresses, and trade networks. The Templars were also heavily involved in banking, acting as financial intermediaries for kings, nobles, and even the church. This financial success allowed the Order to amass significant wealth, much of which was stored in hidden vaults across Europe and the Mediterranean. But as the Order's power grew, so did its enemies. In 1307, King Philip IV of France, deeply in debt to the Templars, moved to arrest and disband the Order. On Friday, October 13th, 1307, hundreds of Templar Knights were arrested, tortured, and executed. Their vast holdings were seized, and the Order was officially dissolved by Pope Clement V. According to the traditional narrative, the Templar treasure was lost during this purge. Some believe that King Philip IV and Pope Clement V took the wealth for themselves, while others suggest that the treasure was deliberately hidden by the Templars to prevent it from falling into the hands of their persecutors. The idea that the Templars hid their treasure has given rise to a multitude of theories about its possible location. From secret chambers beneath churches to hidden vaults in remote castles, the search for the treasure has captured the imagination of adventurers and historians for centuries. But is there any evidence to support these claims? Or is the treasure simply a product of myth and legend? One of the most persistent theories is that the Templar treasure was hidden in a secret location, known only to a select few members of the Order. Over the years, many locations have been proposed as the hiding place of the treasure, ranging from well-known sites in Europe to more obscure locations in the Americas. One of the most famous of these theories involves the island of Oak Island in Nova Scotia, Canada. The so-called Oak Island mystery has fascinated treasure hunters for centuries, with claims that the island harbors a vast treasure hidden by the Templars. The island's famous Money Pit, a shaft that has been excavated numerous times, but with no conclusive result, has been the subject of speculation about its possible connection to the Templars. Some believe that the treasure was buried there by the Templars as part of a secret plan to safeguard their wealth from the wrath of the French king. Theories about the Templars' connection to Oak Island have been bolstered by the discovery of strange symbols, artifacts, and mysterious markings on the island, though no definitive evidence has yet been found. Other theories suggest that the treasure was hidden in plain sight, embedded within the architecture and symbols of Templar-related structures. One such location is the chapel at Rosslyn, Scotland, which has long been associated with the Templars. The chapel, with its intricate carvings and mysterious symbolism, has been the subject of intense speculation regarding the existence of hidden treasures.